In the northern lowlands, where winter never truly left, and the soil drank more iron than rain, there stood a village called Redmere. It was not marked on royal maps. No trader sought it, no priest blessed it. The people there lived by cutting peat from the marsh, curing meat in smokehouses, and pretending they did not hear the old battlefield beneath their homes whisper at night. Long ago, Redmere had been built atop a place of slaughter. Thousands had died there when two forgotten kingdoms crushed each other into mud. Their banners rotted, their crowns vanished, their songs became coughs in the wind. But the blood remained. It rose through the ground in dark stains after storms. It colored the wells with a faint copper taste. It made the village children dream of shields breaking, horses screaming, and men calling for mothers who had died centuries before them. Among those children was Mara Veyne, daughter of the village bone setter. Mara learned early that blood was not merely a sign of death. Blood spoke. A shallow cut whispered fear. A deep wound groaned regret. A dying man's blood, warm on her hands, sometimes carried memories that were not his alone. Her mother told her never to listen.
"Close the wound,"
she said.
"Do not answer it."
But Mara listened anyway. And one winter night, when the moon hung red behind the clouds, the battlefield beneath Redmere finally answered back. He arrived at dawn, walking from the marsh with 7 arrows in his back. No one saw where he came from. No one heard a horse, a cart, or a cry for help. He simply appeared through the fog, dragging 1 foot through the frost, leaving a blackened trail behind him. The villagers bolted their doors. Mara opened hers. The man collapsed at her threshold, but even then he did not die. His breath rattled like chains. Blood streamed from his wounds, yet his eyes remained painfully awake. Around his neck hung an amulet, a thick, ugly ring of dark metal, shaped like a clenched hand. Its fingers wrapped around a red stone that pulsed faintly, as if something inside it still remembered a heartbeat. Mara's mother wanted to cut the amulet away. The wounded man seized her wrist with impossible strength.
"No,"
he rasped.
"It holds me together."
Mara stared at the object. The red stone did not shine. It watched. For 3 days the man lay in their home. His wounds refused to close, but they also refused to kill him. Every time his blood spilled, the amulet tightened against his throat. Every time his heart slowed, the red stone beat harder. On the 4th night, he spoke to Mara alone.
"I was a deserter,"
he said.
"I fled a war that had no banners left. I ran while my brothers died. I ran until the dead followed me."
He touched the amulet.
"This was made for cowards, for soldiers too afraid to die and too guilty to live."
Mara asked who had made it. The man smiled with cracked lips.
"A healer who hated mercy."
Before sunrise, he was gone. Not dead, gone. Only the amulet remained on the bed, slick with fresh blood. And beside it, scratched into the wooden floor by a fingernail, were 4 words: "It grips what flees." Mara became obsessed with the amulet. Her mother forbade her from touching it. Her father buried it beneath the hearth. The village elder demanded it be thrown into the marsh. But every night Mara heard it, a slow pulse beneath the floorboards. Not calling, commanding. Years passed. Redmere grew poorer. The marsh expanded. Cattle were born weak. Children woke with nosebleeds and spoke in voices too old for their bodies. The battlefield beneath the village was rising into the living world, one wound at a time. Then came the Crimson Fever. It began with a cut that would not close. A butcher sliced his thumb and bled for 2 days. A girl scraped her knee and left red footprints from her bed to the river. Soon the sick filled every house. No bandage held, no herb worked. Blood flowed from mouths, eyes, ears, and old scars reopened as if remembering the blades that made them. Mara's mother died holding pressure on a wound that had no cause. At her funeral, Mara dug beneath the hearth. She found the amulet warm. The moment she touched it, all the small cuts on her hands split open. Blood ran down her fingers and into the red stone. The clenched metal hand loosened just enough to fit around her neck. Then it closed. Pain struck her like a hammer. But beneath the pain came knowledge. She saw the amulet's maker, Edron Coyle, a battlefield surgeon who had once crawled through wars collecting the dying. He had been a healer of unmatched skill, yet he grew to despise the waste of men who begged to live only after spending their lives dealing death. So Idron made an oath: no more gentle healing, no more clean mercy. He forged an amulet from the shackles of prisoners, the rings of widows, and the blades pulled from the bodies of deserters. Into its stone, he poured blood taken from soldiers who had survived wounds that should have killed them. The amulet did not heal. It refused death. It clutched the wearer's life in a fist of pain, forcing blood back into the body, forcing flesh to remember its shape, forcing the wounded to keep moving long after mercy would have let them fall. Edron named it the Sanguine Clutch, and when Mara saw its true purpose, she understood the horror. It could save Redmere, but it would not do so kindly. Mara walked from house to house, wearing the amulet. Wherever she entered, the bleeding slowed. Wherever she touched the sick, their wounds tightened. But every life she steadied pulled something from her. Her skin paled, her veins darkened, her heartbeat grew louder than her thoughts. The villagers called her saint, then they called her witch, then they called her necessary. For every wound she closed, the amulet opened one in her own body. A child stopped bleeding from the lungs, and Mara coughed red into her palms. An old man's torn belly sealed, and Mara felt invisible hooks drag through her ribs. A mother survived childbirth, and Mara collapsed outside the door, unable to breathe until the amulet crushed itself tighter around her throat. Still, she continued. The Sanguine Clutch did not let her stop. Each time she tried to remove it, its iron fingers sank into her flesh. Each time she rested, she dreamed of the battlefield beneath Redmere, where thousands of dead men stood ankle-deep in red water, staring at her with hollow patience. They were not angry, they were waiting. One evening the village elder came to her with a blade hidden beneath his cloak.
"You carry the sickness,"
he said.
"The fever follows you."
Mara looked at the blade and did not move. The elder stabbed her beneath the ribs. She fell to one knee. The amulet clenched. Blood poured from the wound, then stopped in mid-flow, trembling like a string pulled tight. Mara gasped as the pain folded inward. The wound sealed badly, brutally, leaving a raised scar shaped like a gripping hand. The elder fled screaming. Mara stood, and for the first time, she heard the amulet speak in a voice like blood dripping onto iron.
"Keep walking."
The fever ended when Mara understood where it came from. Redmere had not been cursed by disease. It had been claimed by memory. The old battlefield wanted its dead returned. Every drop of blood spilled into the village had awakened the buried army below. The dead did not know the war was over. They only knew they had fallen, and the living had built homes above them. So Mara went to the marsh. Behind her came the villagers, not out of loyalty, but fear. They carried lanterns, spades, and the bones they had thrown beneath their floors over generations: finger bones, jaw bones, cracked skulls, rusted helms with teeth still trapped inside. At the center of the marsh stood a black pool where no reeds grew. Mara stepped into it. The water rose around her boots, then her knees, then her waist. The Sanguine Clutch beat against her throat like a second heart. From beneath the pool, hands emerged, hundreds, thousands. Not flesh, not bone, but memory shaped like grasping fingers. They seized Mara's legs and arms. They pulled at her wounds. They opened every scar she had taken from the villagers. Blood spread around her in a crimson bloom. The villagers watched in silence. Mara did not scream. She raised the amulet from her chest and spoke to the dead below.
You were not buried. You were abandoned.
The marsh answered with the sound of distant shields.
You were not remembered. You were used.
The water churned.
You were not defeated. You were left unfinished.
Then Mara tore the amulet from her throat. Iron fingers ripped free from her skin. The Sanguine Clutch opened for the first time since its forging, and the red stone within split like an eye. All the blood it had stolen, held, and forced back through unwilling veins poured out at once. It did not fall into the marsh. It rose. A great red shape lifted from the water. An army made of memory, wound, and grief. The dead stood behind Mara, no longer crawling beneath the village, no longer whispering through wells and dreams. For one breath, they looked human again. Then the wind passed through them, and they were gone. The marsh turned clear. The battlefield went silent. Mara fell into the water. They found her at dawn on the shore of the Black Pool. She was alive, barely. Around her neck was a scar in the shape of a closed hand. Beside her lay the amulet, changed forever. Its iron fingers no longer clenched. They rested open around the broken red stone, as if finally releasing something they had held for too long. Mara never wore it again. No one in Redmere bled strangely after that. The wells cleared, the dreams stopped. Children were born without old voices in their mouths. But Mara changed. Whenever she passed the sick, their wounds ached. Whenever blood touched her hands, she could still hear its faint whisper. And when winter storms rolled over the marsh, she sometimes saw soldiers standing at the edge of the village, silent and still, watching over the place where they had once been forgotten. Years later, when Mara died as an old woman, the villagers buried her far from the battlefield. Not beneath stone, not beneath iron, beneath red flowers that bloomed even in frost. The amulet was placed in the village shrine, where no one dared wear it. Travelers who saw it said the broken stone still pulsed when someone nearby was wounded. They said the open metal hand twitched when cowards lied about courage. They said if a dying person touched it, they could hear a voice inside, low and merciless, asking one question.
Do you wish to live, or do you merely fear dying?
And beneath the shrine, carved into dark wood, the villagers wrote the warning that became its legend. The Sanguine Clutch does not heal the wound. It teaches the blood to obey.